welcome back to another video. I hope your self-development journey is going quite well. In today's video, I wanted to cover the fact that in the past, the pessimists survived, but in modern day, the optimists thrive. See, back in the day, being a pessimist or looking at the worst possible outcome or thinking all these 100 bad things that may happen, thinking that primarily as your primary mode of thinking served you. You know, we didn't live in houses, we didn't live in apartments, we didn't have a safe place to stay, or you could say, I guess, some huts or caves or places that human beings stayed were somewhat safe, but not as safe as they are now, right? So, if you heard a ruffling in the bushes at night, well, you had to assume that it was something bad, and maybe an animal was going to come and try and kill you, right? So this was not a positive; it was a net positive mode of thinking because it could have saved your life. You thinking negatively about a situation caused you to survive, right? Now, through all of these probably hundreds, maybe thousands of years of us doing this way, our brains adapted to thinking more about the negative things rather than the positive things. Now, the unfortunate situation about this is that since life is safer than it was before, and you're not in as much danger as threat and constantly as you were in the past, your brain is still stuck in that mode of thinking, right? You might notice that throughout your days you still think about, oh, this could happen, or you get anxious about this negative situation that could happen. It probably won't actually happen, but you're thinking about it, and it could happen, right? And you're like, you have to deal with this thing next weekend, and you're worried about it, and all this stuff, right? You worry, you're anxious, you think the worst thing is going to happen, when the worst thing that could happen probably isn't a realistic thing that will even happen. And even if it does happen, it's probably not as bad as you think it is, right? Because the worst thing that could probably happen to you is death. And, whatever situation you have to deal with in a week most likely isn't going to kill you, right? So, point is, in the modern day, the optimists are the ones that thrive, right? Because we are safer, right? And if we keep this mode of pessimism as our constant primary way of thinking, our life takes a downhill turn, and it just keeps going down, right? And it seems like there's no hope, and the world's out to get you, and everything sucks, right? But the world really isn't this bad, right? But it's easy to think this because our brains are primed for it, right? So what we have to do is we have to rewire our brains, right? There's this concept called the subconscious mind, which makes up for around 95% of our life. We have all these different programs and biological factors in our mind, past experiences that stuck with us that cause us to act a certain way in the present moment and treat things in this way, or when this happens we react in this manner, and we physically do this, or we don't take action when this thing occurs, and so on, right? Because of our past experiences, our programming, and what people told us when we were younger, etc. Right? So what we have to do is analyze and think back, all right, what are these things that we believe, and what are the negative things that I believe about my life that don't have to be true. I make them true because I think about it in the negative sense all the time, but they don't have to be true, right? It's like, for example, if you don't think you're good enough, this most likely came from maybe you didn't get good grades in school, and your parents, every time you got less than an A, they told you weren't good enough. It's like, oh, that's why I think that way now, right? And this can plague your entire mind and your life, right? It's the concept of not feeling good enough could plague every area of your life. Well, I'm not good enough to be in a relationship with someone. I'm not good enough to feel confident in myself. I'm not good enough to get this thing done on time. I'm not confident enough to develop this skill. I'll never be good enough at this, right? And the list goes on of us, these limiting thoughts and these limiting mindsets, right? Which in reality don't have to be true, but we make them true because we think about those negative thoughts all the time, and then they affect our reality, right? And so you have to take different action, and in taking these little different actions, these small steps, our thoughts start to change, and then our reality starts to change, right? A simple task that people talk about that you can start to do is affirmations, of course. Now, people talk about affirmations and manifesting your reality and this type of stuff. Now, the problem that I see a lot of people run into is people do affirmations. They'll say, well, look in the mirror and themselves and say, I'm confident, I'm worth it, I'm loved, I can get this done. Right? But you do that, and you don't take any action, you might get some results that you might start to think you're thinking a little bit more positive, but it can only go so far because you're not actually doing anything in reality, right? Something that's easy to do is to get hooked on doing these affirmations or thinking positive, but not actually doing anything in reality. Now, the key is to do these affirmations, develop more positive thoughts about yourself, and help your self-image rise in combination with doing new things, taking new action, having conversations you haven't had before, doing some things that might be a little bit scary or uncomfortable for you, getting out of your comfort zone, getting better in reality. So then if you say to yourself, I'm confident, but then you don't do anything in reality, but then you continue to do things in reality that make you not feel confident. For example, you could be addicted to video games and you say these affirmations, I'm confident, but you continue to play video games, and when you turn off the video game, you don't feel confident in your life overall because you're not doing anything with your life. It's like this I am confident affirmation can only take you so far. Now, if you do this affirmation in combination with getting in the gym, improving your mental health, developing a new hobby, finding things you're passionate about, spending time and incorporating habits into your days that actually improve you and help yourself feel better, this in combination with affirmation is the ultimate manifesting technique, you can say, right? Because you're not only positively thinking and saying things to yourself, but you're doing that in combination with actions in reality, and then those actions in reality will lead to positive results, and then they'll be completely in line. It's like, okay, I'm saying I'm confident with this affirmation, I'm taking new action, I'm getting these results, and these are positive results, and me getting this result, I achieved this, I reached this goal. Now this envelops some more confidence within myself because I'm actually doing something. And now the I am confident affirmation and the results you're getting are in tune with each other, right? And it creates this beautiful combination. And this is the simple explanation of how you can create your own reality and change things for the better, right? So taking it back a little bit, this idea of pessimist surviving and optimist thriving, you are required to be an optimist to thrive in your life nowadays, right? There's this concept called nihilism, for example. There's many philosophies and many spiritual ideas that you can explore and delve into. Now, some people talk about nihilism. Some people start to adopt that philosophy into their life, which isn't great. Now, nihilism is essentially life is meaningless. There's not really any purpose here. All right, whatever. It's like, it's not really that cool since none of this has any purpose, right? And so this can be a part in your philosophical expanding your consciousness and mind journey. You might get to this point where you're learning new ideas, and you get to a point where you're learning these things and it seems like this is true and this is going well, and then you're like, oh wait, but does any of this even matter? Right? And what this nihilism goes hand in hand with pessimism, you could argue. What this does is, if you adopt this as your philosophy, it won't make your life better, and it'll either keep you stagnant or make it worse, right? Because if you think nothing matters at all, well, then you ask yourself, all right, well, why am I even doing this positive thing to make my life better? Right? And so nihilism, if you are stuck in that now, or you ever start to think about it, that is supposed to be, alike with many other philosophies that you'll look into or think about, and ideas that will flow into your mind and thoughts that will occur, this is supposed to be a stage in your journey. It's supposed to be a stepping stone. You're supposed to get past it. Nihilism may pop up in your journey, and you ask, oh, well, wait, does any of this even matter? You have to continue to live your life in a way where you find purpose in it, and you're actually enjoying what you're doing throughout your days, and you find that it does have meaning, it does have purpose, right? Even, whether you think something happens after you die or not, whether you think still nothing happens after you die and that's meaningless, it's still meaningful to you now in this moment, and that's important, right? So nihilism is supposed to be a stepping stone. You might get to it, you might deal with it for a little while, think about it a lot, and then you get past it, you move on to a different philosophy, you have different thoughts, more positive thoughts, you continue to make your life a better place, right? So we need to not only create a better self-image of ourselves, because our self-image is everything, right? I was actually watching a video pertaining to lucid dreaming, and this is that concept is off topic, but he was talking about the concept of how success lags behind your self-worth. You can only be so successful if you don't think highly of yourself. You are required to think highly of yourself to become a successful individual. And by success, whatever you define as success, or success you could define in simple terms as thriving in any area, right? It's not just financially, although it can be included in there, right? But thriving in your self-image, feeling confident, feeling worth it, feeling like you have a purpose in your life. List goes on, right? And so we need to make sure that our self-image is developing to become top tier, because if it isn't, we can only be as successful as we think about ourselves, right? If you have a limiting mindset and think that you can never be successful in this area, this area, and this area, you're not going to be. Your mind will do everything in its power to create that reality and to prove that thought true, right? Your unconscious thought process doesn't know when you're lying to yourself or when you're thinking about something negative that you don't actually want to become true in your life, but you're still thinking about it. So the brain tries its best to make whatever you're thinking about a reality. It doesn't care about what's good, what's bad, because it doesn't have a perception of what is good, is bad. It just has the perception of what the ideas are being placed in front of it. Right? So if you're thinking about good things or a specific situation that you deem as good, it does its best to manifest that within your reality through, people that are attracted into your life, through the experiences that you have, through the emotions that you have. And then on the flip side, when you think about these negative things all the time, when you have this negative thought process or situation that you always think about and worrying about that happening, your brain will do everything in its power to create that within your reality, right? Because it doesn't know what's good and what's bad. It's just you are the conscious mind. Your subconscious or unconscious, however you want to label it, you present it with the idea, you present it with the emotion, you present it with that concept, and it just makes it bigger, right? So it's like a seed. You plant the seed in your mind, and the tree grows. The tree could be an ugly tree, could be a very beautiful tree. The brain doesn't really care in of itself which one it is. It'll just make sure whatever you feed it, right? And so we need to make sure that we're feeding our mind positive thoughts, or at least not negative ones, right? Sometimes at the beginning of your journey, it can be difficult to think more positively all the time because you're so used to thinking negative all the time. It's not very easy to just flip your mind around and think positive a lot of the time. And you're also probably not going to get to the point where you're thinking positive 24/7, right? We have this idea that happiness is a place, it's a destination, and it's not an emotion. Happiness is only emotion, an emotion. It's only temporary. Now, you can feel overall content in your life, which is good, and this is, you could deem as a positive output and reality, but point is, happiness is kind of an illusion. Contentment is what's really here, and strive to put more positive situations into your life, in your reality, and then those can affect your mental state and your emotions and how your thought process is working. And then also on the flip side, your thought process, making that more positive, will then affect your reality in a more positive way, and you see how these two are intertwined. Going back to what I was saying before, you make the mental a better place, it affects the physical and the outside of you. It makes that better. And then when you affect the things that are outside here, outside of yourself, you make those better, then it makes your internal better, right? So everything is interconnected. It's if you come from the belief that everything is separate and it's not connected, that's only an illusion. It's false. Everything is connected. It always will be. And if you can start to do both of these things, you will inevitably become more confident, your self-esteem rises, your reality gets better. Hope this helped you out. Catch you in the next one.